Tim. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that's appeared. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join this webinar this afternoon. So as you can see, I plan to explore in the short presentation the role and value of whole estate plans, their relevance as a means of understanding, assessing, promoting and enhancing natural capital, the importance of placing natural capital within a broader social and economic context, and the use of the whole estate plan approach at various spatial scales. To kick off, and with apologies for the fact that I haven't put this in full page screen to start with, to those who already know about whole estate plans, a quick spin around and about them. We're going to look at why you might want one, what they comprise, how you produce one, and when is a good time to do so. First up though, it's important to note that no two whole estate plans will be the same. Each is specific to place, to owner and author. Even where we are reacting to a specific ask by a planning authority, such as we have in the South Downs, and we hope to do in the Lake District and now soon the North York Moors National Parks, the endorsed plans and others in development are all different, despite sharing a core framework. Also important to know is that there are as many different weights of whole estate plans as there are different uses and drivers for them. There are, however, common elements. Essentially, a good whole estate plan articulates what you have, why you cherish it, what you want to make happen with it, why this is so, how you are going to do it, and the good things this will make happen. So running through the 4 key questions of why, what, how, and when. Why whole estate plans? Well, because they provide clarity. They provide a shared understanding and enhanced engagement from all involved with the estate. They drive out and test opportunities. They fix a single version of the truth for use in all manner of places once complete. They create discipline around goals and accountability within an estate team and with advisors. They are an excellent resource for external communications and the best route yet devised to positive planning and investment outcomes. What is a whole estate plan? Well, we describe it as a document or a resource or an agreed approach to the future management, enhancement and investment in a defined territorial space that reviews both the asset and the context, that captures and collates detail across the range of asset classes, land, buildings, social capital, skills, environment, heritage, infrastructure, community facilities, community itself, economic activity and enterprise hosted, etc. That generates a shared understanding around constraints and opportunities and critically the interdependencies between those and the various asset classes, that set out a vision, objectives and often powerful guiding principles, and that define the approach and resources to be applied by the estate and the team to realise that vision. How are whole estate plans created? What do they have within them? Well, they will all have some form of either or other of a baseline. They'll have a vision, where do we want to get to and why. They'll have a series of objectives or things that essentially are objectives and guiding principles about the direction of travel and the way you're going to do things. They will have a set of actions. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to change things. They identify the resources needed, both in terms of people, skills, money, investment to make these things happen. They set out a timeline, and very often they will identify marks along the way so that you know you'll be getting there. When might you want to put together a whole estate plan? Well, pretty much any when is my straight answer, but there are some key catalysts. Those would include on change of ownership, management or leadership, when a previous business case, business plan, strategy has been achieved or has expired, to support a specific objective. Maybe there's a major opportunity or a major proposition that you want to focus things around. When they're prompted by internal ask or requirements, such as been in the case in the South Downs National Park, or to respond to significant contextual change. Plenty of that around. Brexit, the agriculture and environment bills, and now, of course, everything we're dealing with at the moment. The value and benefits arising from whole estate plans are varied and many, and in our experience at Rural Solutions, they include the plan itself, of course, and what you use it for, the fact that you get a full and shared understanding of the estate, its condition, context, opportunities, threats, strengths and weaknesses across the estate team, the ownership team, the advisory team, and amongst key local stakeholders. They provide an evidential baseline from which to measure and monitor future change. Clarity around interdependencies in the relative strength and value of opportunities, and around the availability or gaps of skills, capacity, and resources available to the business. They provide strong alignment for all involved around purpose, objectives, and desired direction of travel, providing a framework for future investment and management decisions. They can help introduce and work through new approaches to governance, including a stronger mandate for the executive, and perhaps define tiers of delegated authority for spending, investment, and decision making. They provide creation of a resource to support communication and dialogue within the estate team, with trustees, board members, with key advisors, suppliers, with stakeholders, local communities, and during recruitment. And as importantly, the plan-making process itself, which is a hugely powerful means of bringing principals, estate team, and key stakeholders to a shared understanding of what really matters, what the stewards want to achieve, what the estate is for, the why. So that's whole estate plans, but how can they be used as a means of understanding, assessing, promoting, and enhancing natural capital? Well, a key facet of whole estate plans is that generates real added value, especially where the objective includes the intention to understand, promote, and enhance natural capital, is their ability to respond to the context of place. Every good whole estate plan has at its heart a baseline assessment of assets. This will include an audit and appraisal of natural capital and the flows of public and private goods arising from it as a matter of course. Crucially though, this assessment will be made within the wider context of place. Despite relating to a defined spatial area, the whole estate plan considers and responds to factors beyond the boundary. It recognises that the entity which is being planned for is part of a larger whole, a critical approach for any effective natural capital strategy. A whole estate plan is also a powerful communications resource, both during the making of the plan and the plan itself. It is relatively easy to demonstrate within a whole estate plan how it is the natural capital of an estate business or territory that underpins and influences all that happens upon it. The interdependencies between the way people live and work, the way they enjoy countryside and places, the enterprises that make direct use of natural capital assets are all readily explained. The context of the whole necessarily brings all the pieces together. A whole estate plan then can present detailed information on the natural capital asset, on available opportunities for enhancement, and on the means and costs of such enhancement and the benefits arising from it within the vision, as a specific objective or guiding principle, as a management or investment theme within the plan, as a defined element of the action plan, or perhaps as a new enterprise or revenue stream. And it does so within a real life context, providing the so what, connecting actions in one part of the territory or place or enterprise with outcomes in another. This approach makes the benefits of natural capital far more accessible and understandable to those who are not environmental specialists, those perhaps that are likely to be buyers of natural capital outcomes, such as local enterprise partnerships, local authority leaders, or water company executives. A word now on the importance of placing natural capital within broader social and economic context. Why should that matter? Well, the ability to set natural capital within such a context is important, I would argue, if not crucial, to its mainstream adoption as an asset class which is investable. I say this because whilst conserving and enhancing the nation's natural capital is fundamental to all our futures, it is not an automatic priority for everyone. The optimum use, the management of and investment in natural capital must compete with many other demands, both on the assets which make it up and the physical space and places it provides. This means that the value of natural capital and investment within it will always be more easily explained when presented as a critical part of a wider whole, rather than as an end in itself. This surely is the point of the ecosystem services approach, an effort to help people to see the impact that natural capital has on our daily lives through the lens of the benefits arising from it. Take it from someone that is not an environmental professional, though, that such ideas as regulating and provisioning services are difficult concepts to get your head around for lay people. They can seem disconnected from real life. They are also, if I may say, partial and do not, in my view at least, extend far enough into the full range of social and economic activity. This slide reminds us of two ways of looking at sustainability. One, in terms of sustainable development, the other in terms of place and community. Both include elements which go significantly beyond the environmental. Compare those with this often used diagram to explain the goods and services, public and private, that flow from natural capital, defined as ecosystem services. These have, most of you will be familiar with these, for those that not, take time to study in due course, but you'll find that these have a far, far more limited reach beyond the environmental space. Yet we all know that natural capital influences and interacts with social and economic factors and outcomes far more than this presentation of the benefits arising from it suggests. I would also argue that considered in isolation within an environmental silo, natural capital and the flows of goods and services it provides are not valued highly enough by those beyond the sector. They do not connect sufficiently. They are not economically or socially real. Present them within the wider integrated context of a whole estate plan, however, and their relative value is immediately more apparent, as is the opportunity for and the likely impact and outcomes from enhancement, and so the rationale for investment. Finally, a word about the use of the whole estate plan approach at different spatial scales. I have been talking to you about the creation of estate scale plans, where the territory tends to be defined by the extent of common ownership, often in a ring fence. And believe me, in those situations, they are very powerful tools. Every estate should have one. I also suggest that a whole estate plan-led approach is the optimum route to develop a fully integrated and investable natural capital strategy for all manner of defined spatial areas. These might include a portfolio or group of geographically separate sites or holdings, such as owned or managed by a wildlife trust perhaps, a cluster of holdings within a river catchment, a defined landscape or area of interest for specific species or habitats, a wider territory, such as a local nature partnership area, or perhaps even a character zone within a designated landscape. I say this because setting a natural capital strategy within a whole place plan will bring it to life. It will make a real statement of intent that demonstrates and articulates the connections between natural capital and people, the way they live, the way they earn their living and they interact with nature, between natural capital and business, the setting and attractor it provides, the well-being it generates, the value it adds, and between natural capital and money, what it costs to look after, what it offers and can save you, the community, the local authority, the health authority, the environment agency, the water company, by being looked after in a way that suits your purposes. So, whole estate plans, a proven approach and a powerful tool, and one I, and now I hope some of you, recognise as having a great deal to offer as we move towards Land Management 2.0. Before I close, I would like to add my thanks to those already expressed to Tim and Matthew for bringing us all together in this way. The number and diversity of people and organisations that this agenda and brilliantly delivered format is attracting is very exciting. I see this diversity and willingness to engage as particularly important if we are to grasp the opportunity offered to us by the emerging direction of travel set out in the 25-year Environment Plan, in the Agriculture Environment Act bills. We absolutely have to connect all parts of the natural capital family. We need to work together to generate a shared understanding of how we can create pathways to deliver specific and perhaps linear objectives sometimes within a far wider context of stewardship, the care of and for places. What do I mean by this? Well, think of the government's stated objective to plant 30 million trees a year by 2025 as an example. If that were understood and supported by all to be the dominant policy objective, it would likely lead to a very specific approach to securing the access to land needed and to land use and land management policy. If it is anything other than a dominant shared objective, the planting of trees must fit within a wider context. It must make its case alongside a range of alternatives. The value proposition it offers must take account of a far greater opportunity cost of dedicating the land to tree planting. It must work within the context of stewardship of place, rather than being pursued as a single driving objective. The natural capital family includes many organisations with clear and perhaps slightly linear thematic objectives, set completely within the context of natural capital. These sit alongside and need to work with landowners and land managers who are focused on a specific space. These people operate with a portfolio of integrated objectives crossing several themes. They have interests that extend beyond the context of natural capital. We need to come together. How best to do so? Well, this webinar series is one way. Taking the whole estate plan approach and working together to deliver a strategic plan for whatever territory, space or place you are dealing with is another. Thank you very much for listening. I do hope you have found it useful.